Hello, I'm Bill Lockwood. This is what we call Writing for the Bible brand. I have a new partner, and this partner is named Bond. He's really the son of Woody B. Tough, and his name is C.R. Tough Secret. And he teaches me a lot. And by the way, we're indoors today because it's really windy here in North Texas. So maybe for the sound effects, I thought maybe it would be better to be indoors. But we do want to look at a Bible passage, and what our intent is, a Bible passage and application in the culture today. So what I would like to do is look at a passage, 1 Timothy chapter 3, 14 through 16. And then I want to look at a Supreme Court case, 1963, called Abington versus Shemp, in which Bible reading was removed from the schoolroom. And we'll look at both of those, and then I want to tie it all up at the end. And we want to do this in about 7 or 8 minutes, so I want to just hit the high points. In 1 Timothy chapter 3, we read that Paul tells us that these things write unto thee, hoping to come unto thee shortly. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how men ought to behave themselves in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and the ground of the truth. Pillar means the support. Ground is the foundation of. And it's the truth that the church is to uphold. So the truth is that which we should study, we should read. Psalms chapter 1 tells us that we are to be the one who not simply reads, but meditates upon the truth. What does it mean to meditate upon the truth? Well, it means that we let it soak in our minds, that we do reading, but it also means that we think about it, we meditate upon it, we let it just to kind of soak in our souls, kind of marinate in our hearts. That's the idea of meditation upon the Word of God. Joshua chapter 1 and verse 8, as Joshua led the Israelites into the land of Israel, he told them very plainly that he wanted them to take these words. He said, these words, the words of the law, should be upon your mouth, and you'll meditate upon them day and night, and that you should do all of that is written in the law, and that you may prosper in the land and be beneficial. Joshua 1 and verse 8. So the point is that we need to read and meditate upon the Word of God. Now let's stop here, and I want to turn over to the other side of the horse for a minute, and we'll look at Abington versus Shemp. What happened here? 1963. This is a Supreme Court case. Abington is a school district in North Pennsylvania, or rather North Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And in the 1950s, as well as everywhere in the country in the 1950s, Bible reading was a part of the public school curriculum. Now, as a matter of fact, I have in my library a public school curriculum for the Gospel of John. And it reads, it's more dedicated, it's more scholarly and more rigorous than you would have even in Bible classes today. That's the way it was in the public school system. But things changed in the late 1950s in the Abington School District. What happened was that there was a Unitarian family by the name of Shemp. And the young girl named Ellery disagreed with Bible reading where they were having it in a classroom, public school. And so she would bring a copy of the Quran to read. Well, one thing led to another, and it went to district courts and the state court, and they upheld the fact that the Abington School District could read the Bible. The Unitarians didn't want the Bible reading to be done in schools. Finally, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that the Bible reading should be taken out of the school system, and from that day forward, we've had no Bible reading in schools. What happened in that Supreme Court case, Abington versus Shemp, the Shemp family, at the Supreme Court level, was when it was there, one of the justices, for example, was named Hugo Black. Hugo Black had very little judicial experience. He had some circuit court experience in the state of Alabama for a short period, but he was one of those activists that had been put on the court by the liberals as presidents in the past. And so he stated the question regarding Bible reading in schools. And the question was, is Bible reading an act of worship? Well, the defendant or the defendant's lawyers said, well, yes, it is an act of worship. And said, well, we can't have worship, and from that basis, we can't have worship in the public schools that is Christian worship. And so they eliminated it. Well, let's just stop for a moment and think about it. This was the liberal Warren Court, but let's think about Bible reading in public school. Let's think about Bible reading, first of all. All right, tell you what, let's back up even before that and think about the First Amendment. They were thinking that this was all a violation of the First Amendment. because Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And so, well, this is an establishment of Christianity in a worship service. Well, in the first place, that has nothing to do with Bible reading in public schools. Fisher Ames, one who worded that, pointed out, as well as did James Madison, the father of the Constitution, that First Amendment simply forbade a national denomination. That's all that it was. Had nothing to do with whether you can read or not read, or even worship in a public school. However, not only was that the case, but also the idea of Bible reading being worship. Is that always the case? Must it be? Sometimes it can be. You know, Paul tells Timothy, "Till I come, give heed to reading, to exhortation, and to teaching." It doesn't have to be, however, Bible reading doesn't have to be. For example, if I am reading the Quran in preparation for a debate with a Muslim, as I have done, does that mean that I'm somehow secretly worshiping Allah? Or that is somehow worshiping Allah unbeknownst to me because I'm reading the Quran? Or if I'm debating an atheist, as I've also been able to do, and an atheist is reading the text of the Bible in order to answer me, does that mean he's absolutely worshiping God and worshiping Christ? No. No, Bible reading in and of itself is not worship. And that's how the lawyer missed it in the Abington versus Shemp case. Now let's tie it all up together. In all of this, the point is that in our Bible reading and our Bible study, we need to meditate upon the Word of God and let it soak into our souls. And too many of us are about simply read through the text, falling asleep while I do it, and it not really having any impact in my life or changing the way I behave or my habits or anything. The truth is, we need to study the Word of God, meditate upon it, and remember that 1 Timothy chapter 3 tells us that the church is the pillar, the support of the truth. This is what we want. And it's a shame that we don't have Bible reading in public schools. You know, we have what is called today in the public schools character education. But no Bible in it at all. We talk about things that we should do and why we should take drugs, or should not take drugs. I'm going to say it correctly here. Why we should not take drugs, why we should not do this, not do that. But we can't take it back to any moral standard of eternity such as the Bible, because that was effectively removed in our secular society. What a shame. So we should pay attention to what the Bible has to say. It ought to be in the public schools as well.